Now I see you.
Yeah, great to see you, Dr. Hines. Here we are.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's the happy hour here for December. And this will be our only one in December because the next 2 weeks will be in between Christmas and New Year's. So this will be our final webinar heading into 2024. So I am excited to see what we're going to talk about today. So let me get into my screen here so that I can share with everybody what we're going to talk about today. And Doug, you just let me know if when you see my screen.
I do.
Okay, great. So I'm going to pull up my side here as well. All right, well, welcome everybody to our regular happy half hour. And as usual, it's myself, Brian Wilson, and Dr. Douglas Hines as your moderator. And we're excited to get moving. So today, we've been walking down different paths on our webinars. So today I thought it'd be a good time for us to take a look at self-awareness. You wrote a book, Doug, Life's 7 Perfect Coaches. And in this book, you talk about self-awareness and the science behind it. So, we like to keep these webinars definitely light, sometimes a little jovial and fun, but we hope that people are enjoying them and that they're picking up bits of truth here as we go. So we want people to, help engage their mind to the possibilities of just a better you, whether it's a coach.
You're breaking up a little bit, I believe, Brian.
And like you had it, me. You have
I think you may be breaking up, either you or me, I think. Okay, so I think we lost you, Brian. Yeah, Brian's coming back.
Hey, you're back.
I've been here, I think.
Oh,
I think I've been here.
Well,
yeah, I think you're.
I don't know who got kicked off.
I think you're getting kicked off again, possibly. But I can get started.
You just tell me if you can.
Yeah, I think you're having some issues on your end. I can keep. I think today we're talking about self-awareness, and I can get started while we work out the network issues, if that makes sense. And I think I will do that. This is Doug Hines speaking. Brian has the console that he's seeing who's on and so forth, but I'll just get started. So Brian had suggested today we talk about self-awareness. And as a social psychologist, I would approach the subject really from sort of 3 different angles as it relates to this audience, you folks who are watching this. Brian's connecting back again. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't know what is happening here, but we're going to get through it because technical difficulties are just part of the game.
Okay, so we got this far. We're going over the next half hour.
Yep. Great. So we said we want to talk about self-awareness this week. So let's just jump into that. I don't know if you had started talking, but I'll just ask you. You know, you wrote in this book, Life's 7 Perfect Coaches, which everybody can get. It's on Amazon.
Right.
You wrote that self-awareness
Self-awareness is a gift. The universe doesn't want you to get this sentence out on the internet. Self-awareness is a gift, is the quote that you had told me that we were going to talk about.
That's exactly right. So I have 2 questions for you right out of the gate.
Okay.
One is self-awareness. And then number 2, what did you mean by self-awareness as a gift?
Okay. So 2 separate questions. So self-awareness is defined many ways in many different contexts. But as far as I'm concerned, and actually as far as the Perfect Coaches world is concerned, self-awareness is knowing who you are and having that knowledge translate into what you do. And so why is that a gift? Well, because if you know folks that, in your opinion, aren't self-aware, you get the sense that they're lacking something. They're sort of tone deaf to events, and they're tone deaf to really what's happening inside of them and in their life broadly. So that's the reason self-awareness is a gift. And that quote from my book, I also say that self-awareness, it can be regarded as a responsibility, a social responsibility. When you're participating in group life, it's incumbent on you to have some sense of who you are, because if you don't really have that, it's hard. You're really having some challenges there. If you don't really have that, we've got people in other parts of the country, in the Washington, D.C. area, we've had some crazy windy weather, and I think that's what Brian is encountering as we speak. So self-awareness is a gift. It makes your life more interesting. It makes your life more complete. And that same quote says self-awareness is, to some people, it's a responsibility, and that's what I was talking about just now. To the extent that you're not self-aware, you can't really participate productively in group life. You have to know who you are in order to know who the other people are. So that's the sense in which it's a gift, and it's also a responsibility. Now, I was going to tackle this from sort of 3 angles, and I'll still go ahead and do that because I'm not sure. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, you're looking good, Brian.
Hey, thank you.
We're going to start wearing our ties. I'll wear mine next time.
Okay.
So sort of 3 ways to look at this. One is sort of the big picture in psychology and philosophy, and I'll spend a couple minutes with that. And then the second way to discuss self-awareness is in the context of our app, Perfect Coaches. And you've been to a couple group presentations when we ask the question, "Who am I?" and stare at a sea. This is referring to the time we did this at the graduate school at the University of Maryland, at a sea of blank faces, because people really are perplexed by that. And we're going to talk about that second element as it relates to the app. And then I also want to talk about self-awareness as it relates to belonging, since that's one of our concepts in OurClub.tech is belonging. And to belong is to have a certain element of yourself be identified with the group you belong to. So we'll get to that. How do you have any questions, Brian?
Well, so I'm familiar with the role that self-awareness plays inside the Perfect Coaches app.
Right.
I'm just wondering, can you elaborate on why it is crucial to personal development?
So if you think about the structure of Perfect Coaches, the app, it begins with the self-awareness snapshot. And in the book, Life Seven Perfect Coaches, there's really 7 questions. The perfect coaches are 7 questions. Who am I? What do I do? Why do I do it? When do I do it best? Where am I going? How do I change? And what if I could change the world? It's long. We cut that down for the app to 3 things. Who am I? Where am I going? And how do I change? So if you think about it, you can't really answer the question, how do I change, if you haven't first answered the question, who am I? And you can't really answer the question, how do I change, if you can't answer the question, where am I going? So self-awareness is the guide to, to personal development in this theory, at least. And the app acknowledges that. And I've been doing this for a while now with different versions of the app with different groups, and also individuals just doing this by themselves. And it's surprising what people will say uh, to in answering the question, "Who am I?" So I want to spend a couple minutes on that, because that takes you a little bit to the history of the question, "Who am I?" So back in the 60s, there was a very well-known uh, psychological test called the 20 statements test, the 20 statements test. And in that test, a person would answer the question, who am I, 20 times. And as a graduate student, I was familiar with this. I administered this test. And it's an interesting test. The stated generalization from this is people begin with naming the groups that they belong to. That's the first element of self-awareness. It's the first element of identity. When you answer the question, who am I? People say I'm an American. They'll say that I say I'm a scientist. People say I'm an athlete. People say I'm a mom, a dad, whatever. They name the roles that they belong to. But interestingly enough, some people will elaborate on that inside of that test, and they'll say I am especially when it comes to ethnic identity, they'll say what the kind of Asian they are. I'm an assimilated Asian, or they'll say what kind of African American they are, traditionally guided. They'll say what kind of Ravens fan they are. I'm a rabid Ravens fan. The fans in Tampa, by the way, I live in both places, are a little bit more rabid, I'm afraid to say. So that's why you need self-awareness to guide your self-development. And what people say is really significant. Now, the original test, the 20 statements test, was looking for ethnic identity to some degree. They wanted to know, who do people think they are from the point of view of the culture. But in Perfect Coaches, that's not what we're really getting at. We're getting at, who do you think you are in the context of who do you want to come? Who do you want to become? I'm not sure I answered that question.
All right. Well, yeah, no, that's fascinating. And it's true. I mean, even for myself, I mean, I have different answers, to those 20 questions, to
right.
who am I, the questioning at the different times. But so you mentioned something earlier that you wanted to talk about, and it was part of what I wanted to ask you. But now, how does self-awareness relate to belonging?
Right. And that takes you all the way back to the origins of the 20 statements test, because they wanted to know, what group do you think you belong to? And so, and I've studied this quite a bit, and I won't pretend I don't have my biases on this point I'm about to make, is you can't truly belong unless you're aware of the fact that you belong. So we know a lot of folks who have extended families and uh, lots of friends, and then we know folks who have basically no friends, so they claim. And to the extent that you're not aware of the fact that I know you have a large extended family. To the extent that you're not aware that you are a Wilson, then you can't really belong to the Wilsons, and you can't really be a Wilson. And to the extent that you don't feel like you are an American, then you can't get the sense that you belong there because you don't feel like you do. So we talked a little bit about belonging last time, and as we know, that's one of our taglines: coach, lead, innovate, and belong. And I've had the opportunity now to talk to a lot of people who are thinking of joining OurClub.tech, and and they wonder, well, what does that mean? What would it mean to belong to OurClub.tech? And here's sort of my standard answer so far is, well, around the world, people who belong to this club would feel as if that's part of who they were. And then the converse of that is to the extent that that's part of who you are, then you belong. And I've talked to a couple folks, coaches, who emphasize not so much belongingness as we're using it, but group cohesion in their coaching practices, um, and they find it challenging. They find it challenging to hold the group together around a common identity because they can't get that self-awareness, get over that hump that the person belongs to the group.
So that's fascinating, Doug. And you mentioned in one of our earlier episodes that you were a Marine. So I have a question for you. Did the Marines try to instill a sense of belonging during boot camp, or was that not part of what they were trying to do?
Oh no, that was mostly what they were trying to do. So, been a while back since I was in the Marines, and yes, to this day, I was taking a walk the other day, and there was a guy with a license plate that said Semper Fidelis, and so as I passed him, he was loading something out of his truck. As I passed him, I said, Semper Fi, do you need a hand? And he knew what Semper Fi meant, and everybody it really understands that, always faithful. So there's I never saw the movie, but there's a movie, Full Metal Jacket or something like that. It's about it's a Stanley Kubrick movie, I think, but I've seen excerpts of it. Uh, Basic training in the Marines, and they interview Marines. Yeah, that actually happens. So part of what is true there is they want you to suffer a little bit, almost, to become a Marine, to feel like you earn it. And I almost never talk about my military experience in my professional life because it's not germane, really. The other example I hold up is becoming a partner at KPMG. I mean, I getting through Marine Corps basic training was harder, I will have to say. But the next hardest thing I've ever done is to become a partner at KPMG, and they want it to be a life-changing event. So a lot of the things that are out there are life-changing events. When you graduate from a good college, they want you to feel like you belong to the alumni. That's part of the. I'll wear my tie next time. It's part of the concept of the club tie. It's a symbol of belonging. And I've had a conversation now with about 6 coaches that I never knew until we started this up, basically at the beginning of the month, beginning of December, and this is one of the things that they are challenged by: get people to belong, and they go in and consult with companies, small companies typically, And some companies just can't get their folks to feel like they belong.
That's
And
interesting.
you know,
And I would imagine if you don't feel like you belong, then that you just have a certain, or you may have higher attrition than organizations that have that sense of belonging or have
right,
that culture that naturally draws people towards that type of sense of belonging.
right. That's now in business life. There's studies out there about loneliness, and belonging is the opposite of loneliness by some definitions. And one of the things that commentators discuss is that it used to be, and this is nostalgia to some degree, it used to be you got a job and you stayed with that company. You went to work for Bethlehem Steel.
And
You
you got
went
to
to work for
watch.
right. You went to work for General Motors. You went to work for Metropolitan Life. And that's you burrowed in. You made
Mm-hmm.
your friends. You had your drinks. And as we all know, I think that that's just not there anymore. Companies like McDonald's, believe it or not, are really trying to create the sense that that's a career for life. It's not just something you do until you do something else. So we're conducting an experiment in many respects to see if we can have an international a group of basically entrepreneurs and uh, independent folks feel like they at least belong to this international group, and there's a sense of shared culture, there's a sense of shared identity. We have a fairly rigorously designed test that you take to become a certified perfect coaches facilitator. So we're trying to do that because it really is a very, and everybody will tell you this, being an independent entrepreneur is a lonely place in 2023. It really is very tough because there's nobody that depends on.
Yes, it can be very lonely being out there on your own, which is why our club is um, such a blessing to people because it gives us a place to share those
Right.
common experiences and to work on getting better ourselves. So we've talked a lot about awareness and how awareness relates to people and improving their personal development and to a
Right.
sense of belonging. And so self-awareness is really critical, and it is one part of the three-part process that you describe in your book. And I don't want to do a deep dive, but the two remaining steps to your process, Doug, are what?
Well, you start with self-awareness, and then the next is behavioral focus, and then finally comes feedback. And it's a self-amplifying feedback loop because what you get feedback, and then it makes you more self-aware, and then that gives you more focus, and so forth. I've been trying to. Uh, uh, we're for our audience. We're embarking on something we're very excited about, which is we're going to have an extension of Perfect Coaches for the iPhone running on the Apple Watch. And I've got a couple people. I got a couple people doing
There.
some research on this. Uh, this assertion: there's nothing as um, in, in involving running on that watch as our app will be. You're going to be into it. You're going to be talking to your coach. There's going to be, we believe, a sense of intimacy because how easy it is to keep that conversation going. But in the context of that, I'm effectively writing an elevator pitch, a 40-second elevator pitch for Amy. And for those of you who don't know precisely what we're doing yet, Amy stands for Adaptive Motivational Interaction. Amy is the personification of the patented process that we have adopted. And if you go to OurClub.tech, you can actually see a video. Amy introduces herself, right? So I'm trying to write an elevator pitch for this. And I'm trying to make the point that, thank you for helping bring that point out. What is it exactly that we're doing in this app? We begin with self-awareness. So this is where I want to go. Then you pick a behavior. We have what we call the 5 fundamental skills: healthy living, personal excellence, leadership, smart money, and sales and service. Right? Those are 5 skills, and each of those skills, we call them foundational skills. Each of those skills has habits inside of it, and that's what you learn. You learn the habits, and you learn that getting feedback from Amy, and so that creates the loop. And it all seems so simple in the abstract, but in practical terms, getting people to understand this is really our mission. And one of the reasons we want to promote a sense of self-awareness amongst the members of OurClub.tech is because that's sort of the mission, is to use this technology to help other people, the people that you're coaching, to take advantage of this. It's in the consulting world, repeatable solution. So
well, and fancy that you should mention that, Doug, because we're bumping up here against the bottom of the hour, but we do want to let people know that that people can join and they can belong here, and we want people to join. And you can sign up today at OurClub.tech, and we offer 2 distinct levels for our members. The first level is the Adventure Clubhouse, and the second level is the more senior level. It's called Leadership Clubhouse, and that's where membership is by application and approval. And everybody can find out all about these at our website, OurClub.tech. As a matter of fact, if you join before the end of the year, we have a 50% discount for those that join us in 2023 heading into 2024. So we hope that you take advantage of that. And just before we go here, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We'll be on YouTube shortly. And we hope that everyone has a wonderful holiday season. And on behalf of Dr. Doug and myself, thank you for putting up with the technical difficulties today. We'll make sure to get those resolved next time. Cut down all the branches on my internet connection.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing each and every one of you in 2024 for our next happy half hour. So thank you very much, everybody. Great to see you, Doug. Happy New Year, and best wishes to everyone.
Best wishes to everyone. That's a good way to end.
All right.